Hello, Knight. I want to play a game. For over 3 years, you've made videos on film and inner workings for the public to consume. You feel as if this makes a difference in their lives. Today, we will put that to the test. If this video gets enough likes and comments within the span of one day, you will save yourself. You have 12 minutes to do this. Success or failure, the choice is yours.
What's going on, guys? We are going to be talking about Saw X. I just saw the film, and yeah, this is going to be so much fun to go over. This will be a non-spoiler review, and so don't worry. If you haven't seen it yet, you can definitely listen and watch this, and you won't have any spoilers at all. So guys, you know I'm a huge fan of the Saw franchise. I've seen all of the movies in the theater, and there was a time when not only myself, but I had a group of friends who were really big into making this almost like an event. And at one point, the Saw films, they were coming out every year. And of course, we had the tagline, if it's Halloween, it's Saw. And it was such a fun thing. I think for me as a horror fan, what I loved most about it, and I know that this is very true, I just loved the story and all the bits and pieces that were trying to come together, and you're trying to figure it out. There's a mystery. You had so many characters. This is one of the few franchises I can think of, and I love quite a few franchises, but this is one of the few I can think of where I really enjoyed pretty much all of the characters in some way, shape, or form. Like in every movie, there's different characters. And of course, there's some of the big characters that carry on from one film to another and so forth. But I just love this franchise, and even with the gore that it has, which isn't the worst type of gore, and we've seen a lot of films do a lot more than this. But of course, Saw franchise is part of the torture porn subgenre, and but I do think that sometimes that label doesn't give it the credit or the justice it deserves. So let's get into Saw X and what I thought about it, non-spoiler. Before I do that, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps to support the channel, and I'd appreciate it. If you're a fan of movies, if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of Saw, this is the place for you, the Night Watch Zone. So please hit the subscribe button as well. Join our amazing community as we head into Halloween season proper. So this movie, which was interesting because it is within the original timeline, taking place between the events of Saw 1 and Saw 2. And you have Tobin Bell returning to this iconic character of John Kramer, aka Jigsaw. You also have Shawnee Smith, who also returns, playing Amanda, who I absolutely love in the franchise. And it was great to see her come back. But you also have some newcomers into the story. You have Stephen Brand, you have Sanav Makati Lund, and I know I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, so I apologize. Directed by Kevin Grudert, who has been a part of the Saw franchise for a long time, edited a lot of the earlier films in the franchise, but also directed 6 and 7. 6, I think, is such a great film in the franchise, arguably one of the best. So he knows what he's doing as far as the feeling of Saw. And they said that they were going to get back to basics with the franchise. And let me just say right now, guys, they did. They really went back to basics. They really focused on story, which I think some of the later sequels, from 7 through 9, I think those films really kind of moved a little bit more away from story. Part of that is because I think that things are getting a lot more complicated. They're still enjoyable entries, but this movie really took it back and really focused in on John Kramer, which is what I wanted. One of the big things I wanted was for John Kramer to absolutely be the center of attention and the focus. And he is, guys. Let me just say that. This is not a spoiler. He is the focus of this movie. This is the most John Kramer that we've ever had in the entire franchise, and I'm all for it. So you have this plot, this story plot, where John is told that he has advanced cancer. We know that throughout the series, and obviously as it went on and things happened and so forth. So he attends this support meeting of different cancer patients and so forth. And he is told that there is a procedure that can be done to possibly cure him of his cancer. Now, to be quite honest, this is a really emotional story, even more so because in this movie, you see not just John Kramer, but you see the man living with this disease and looking at his own mortality and so forth. And I think Tobin Bell did a fantastic job. This is exactly what we needed, not only for the Saw franchise, but I think that it's a great reminder for horror that you can have both. You can have some really heavy emotional stuff going on mixed in with the horror. And to see that in a big franchise like Saw was really, really cool. And by the way, the story, as I get into a little bit of the story, not spoilers, but I'll go through some of the structure of it. But by the way, this movie was very story driven, okay, character driven. And I'm going to let you guys know that even a young kid at 10 years of age was not bored with the movie, which was a big surprise, but was engaged. So that was really, really cool, and telling, because I think that Tobin Bell did such a great job of just grabbing your attention right from the beginning, and you just follow him throughout this movie. But the thing that happens is he's told about this new procedure. He meets this daughter of a very famous doctor who has this procedure where there's this medication that you take in combination with a surgery and so forth. And bottom line, John Kramer goes down to Mexico to have this procedure done. Now, we've seen this in the trailer. Pretty much most of what I'm talking about was covered in the trailer. So these are no spoilers, no big spoilers either. So he goes there and he meets, the team. He meets some of the locals, the person who drives him there, and he also meets some younger folks that are, kind of at this facility. It's kind of like it's like a power plant that's been converted, or a chemical plant that's been converted to a medical facility. And he goes through the procedure. Now, just like we saw in the trailer, stuff doesn't go the way it's supposed to go. Okay, and John is basically still in the middle of his games. This is in between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So he decides to teach those involved a lesson, Jigsaw style, right? And it was really, really cool, the way that everything was put together. And we do see that Amanda is back in the fold as far as Shawnee Smith being there in the movie. And I thought that was really cool. Their dynamic, as far as her trying to be the successor to Jigsaw, all of that was in play. I was really happy to see her back on the big screen. This movie was just great. The traps that they had, very, very cool traps. I think definitely much better than the traps that we had in Spiral and also in Jigsaw. I think that these were some really, really good traps. Even with Saw 3D, I think these were better traps. And as I absorb it more, I'll think about how they rank up to the first six, because I think the first six films are the strongest, easily, in my opinion. So the traps were set up really well. You had the folks that were in the traps and their interplay with each other, which that's something that we see in the movies. So in other words, the film felt like a Saw movie, but it felt really, really different in a very good way. And you guys will understand what I mean when you see it. There's a lot of emotional weight in this film. And the thing about it is that this film is receiving very positive reviews from the critics. A lot of them describing the film as the strongest entry since the original. And a lot of that is because of Tobin Bell's performance. And you guys will definitely see that from the very beginning all the way through. And that's one thing that I was really curious about, was he going to be in the movie, but not always right there front and center? Let me just tell you guys, he is front and center. when we get to the third act, and I'm not giving away any spoilers, but when we get to the third act, there's some things that go on, and it's like, wow, okay, some really, really surprising things. And I was impressed. You could see some response from the audience as we got to the finale and how things were unfolding. This fits perfectly within Saw 1 and Saw 2. Now, let me also say this. Stay after the credits, okay? Stay after the credits. For anyone that is a fan of this franchise, you guys are going to be so happy. Stay away from anything that's spoilery. Let me just say that as well. And I know that's difficult in today's day and age of the internet, but try to stay away from any articles talking about this film. If you're watching reviews like mine, just make sure that they're non-spoiler, because I don't think anyone wants this to be spoiled. I know I wouldn't have wanted this to be spoiled, but when we saw it, man, there were claps, there was applause and woo and all this type of stuff. It was really, really cool. And there is room, this is not any spoiler, but there is room for some other things to be explored. And I think it was really, really smart, but the film is also contained. You know what I'm saying? So that's always the best way to go. Make this a contained story. Kevin Grudit himself said, hey, we're making this one film. We wanted to do this for the fans. We wanted to bring Tobin Bell back, and that's what we've got. And he said pretty much, quote for quote, saying, we're going to see how this film performs, and then, we'll have conversations. They never want to think beyond the film they're working on, and they're actually a little superstitious about it, which I think is kind of interesting. But there were some really cool nods to some things that the franchise has given us over the years and so forth. So this was a really good film, guys, from top to bottom. I really enjoyed it. I'm still letting it absorb. At some point, I'm going to do a re-ranking of the Saw franchise. We've already done that once. We've gone through all of the films. So please, if you haven't checked out those videos, check those out. We did a review and discussion of each and every Saw film, and we ranked them all from Saw all the way to Spiral. So check that out. But guys, I think if you're a fan of the Saw franchise, if you're a horror fan, I think you will really enjoy this film. I really do. Before I saw it, I had heard a lot of positive feedback from a lot of friends and other, content creators that had seen it before me, insiders and so forth. So I think everything's looking good for this movie. I just hope that the box office will reflect that. I really do. And I think it will. I do think it will. There's going to be a lot of strong word of mouth. And I can't wait to see how this all turns out. So guys, let me know in the comment section down below. Have you seen Saw X yet? And if you haven't, let me know what you're looking forward to in the movie. Please don't have any spoilers in the comment section down below, but let's have a conversation about the franchise and non-spoiler thoughts on this film. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helps to support the channel, and I'd appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, this is the time to do it. Do it and join our amazing community, and we can enjoy these films as we head into Halloween season. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.